This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little bit more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. It's This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. You can find more podcasts and more info at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's March 28th, and on this day in 1984, under the cover of darkness, Baltimore Colts owner Bob Irsay packed up the team and moved to Indianapolis. To say this move was a surprise would be a bit of an understatement. There was no announcement prior to the Mayflower moving trucks showing up outside the Baltimore Colts training facility in Owings Mills. But it's not like there hadn't been rumors of clandestine trips and secret deals in the works in the months prior to March 28th. The team nearly became the Phoenix or the Arizona Colts. On January 21st, Irsay was scheduled to meet with Phoenix businessman Tony Nicoli and Arizona Governor Bruce Babbitt. It was the day before Super Bowl 18, and Irsay was in a hurry to get a deal done with those folks so that it would be overshadowed by the big game. But the meeting got leaked to the media, and stories started appearing in local Baltimore newspapers that Irsay was in talks to move the Colts. Irsay canceled the meeting with the governor and with Nicoli, and he flew back to Baltimore, where the mayor of Baltimore, William Donald Schaefer, and a throng of media were waiting for him. And Irsay denied everything.
I haven't been in Phoenix. I give you my word of honor. I'm a good Catholic. I haven't been in Arizona. Where the hell did this all come from? Who started this?
So he may not have actually been on the ground in Phoenix, but he definitely had a meeting scheduled with the governor. Babbitt's chief of staff confirmed that much. There were also rumors of the team possibly moving to Jacksonville and Memphis. Irsay had taken over the Colts in 1972 in a trade of franchises with Carroll Rosenblum, a story we've talked about on the podcast before. The Colts had won Super Bowl V in 1971, but after Irsay took ownership, he fired the coach that had taken them there, Don McCafferty. He jettisoned Johnny Unitas. Irsay was so disliked that John Elway refused to report to the team after he was selected as the number 1 pick by the Colts in the '83 draft. The team posted losing season after losing season under the new ownership, and ticket sales dropped off dramatically, from around 60,000 at the start of the 70s to around 42,000 by '84. Outwardly, Irsay kept saying he was keeping the team in Baltimore.
I have not any intention of moving the goddamn team. If I did, I would tell you about it, okay?
So it's staying here.
I said, if I have any intention of moving the team, I would tell you about it.
Okay.
Now, he'd also made a promise to the mayor that he would be the first to know if he did plan to move the team. Irsay's biggest contention was that he wanted the city to pay for needed renovations to Memorial Stadium. Baltimore city officials wanted Irsay to pay for the renovations, and the state of Maryland had just passed a law allowing the city to seize the franchise using eminent domain. So that's why Irsay ordered this middle-of-the-night skedaddle. Indianapolis wanted the Colts. They'd just built what was called at the time the Hoosier Dome, and blue and white seats had been put in. It also had lucrative luxury skyboxes. Irsay sent his son Jim along with Colts coach Frank Cush under aliases to Indy to check out the Dome a few days prior. Now, Cush flew under the name of Owings, but, being the head coach of the local professional football franchise, he was easily recognized at the airport. The place checked out, and Irsay hustled a contract and signed a 20-year lease with Indianapolis on the 27th. And it was the Indianapolis mayor, Bill Hudnut, that sent the 14 Mayflower moving vans to Baltimore to load up all the team stuff and haul it away under the cover of darkness in the early morning hours of the 28th. The move ripped the heart out of a city who loved their Colts. Baltimore Mayor William Donald Schaefer was stunned and visibly upset when the media caught up with him the morning after.
The Colts had to sneak out of town at night. It degrades a great tradition of the city in football.
Even Irsay's mother hated him after the move, saying, "He's a devil on earth, that one. He stole all our money and said goodbye. He was no good. He was a bad boy." But as much as Baltimore hated him, Indianapolis loved him and the team. And just a few days after moving there, they had more than 140,000 requests for season tickets. And another kick in the gut for Baltimore, they were up for an expansion franchise a decade later, but fell short of the necessary votes. The NFL commissioner at the time, Paul Tagliabue, opposed Baltimore getting an expansion team, saying, quote, "Some towns are football towns, some towns are museum towns. Baltimore is a museum town." End quote. Of course, a year after that snub, Art Modell would pull up stakes in Cleveland and relocate to Baltimore. On this day in 1977, Marquette won the National Basketball Championship, giving retiring head coach Al McGuire a nice going-away present. McGuire had announced the previous December that he was leaving at the end of the season to become the vice chairman of Medalist Sporting Goods. McGuire was just 48 at the time, and the announcement shocked a lot of people. Marquette qualified for the tournament as a 19-win independent and raced through the bracket on an inspirationally charged run. The Warriors had beaten UNC Charlotte on a court-length pass with time running out to advance to the title game to face a favored North Carolina Tar Heel team that was also anxious to deliver the first title to Coach Dean Smith. The first 20 minutes mirrored their run through the tourney, following the lead of All-American guard Butch Lee. Marquette was up 12 at the break. The Tar Heels went on an 18-4 run to start the second half, though.
Stolen by Zalagaris. Zalagaris 2-on-1, took the shot and made it. He had Phil Ford open and didn't see.
But Dean Smith made a bit of a tactical error in the next few minutes. Instead of trying to keep the momentum going, the Heels went into their well-known four corners offense, holding the ball and looking for an easy bucket. They held it in excess of 3 minutes, and then when they got the shot they wanted, they missed it. And Marquette took advantage.
Billy, it looks as if they're almost willing to say, okay, let's play to a tie game, last minute, play for a 1-minute ball game. There it is. Boylan underneath. He hits it. Marquette lead 47-45.
After that, the Heels seemed to forget how to shoot, and they went cold from the field. After stretching the lead to a comfortable margin, the Warriors went into their own version of the four corners and then were able to salt the game away from the free throw line. As a team, Marquette hit 23 of 25 free throws on the night, and Lee scored a team-high 19. With the game in hand and the final seconds ticking off the clock, the emotion of the moment overwhelmed McGuire as he sobbed into his hands, seated on the bench. His assistant, Hank Raymonds, who was more the X's and O's guy on the team, took over as head coach the next year. His other assistant was Rick Majerus, who stuck around to assist Raymonds before taking over as head coach at Marquette in 1983, before moving on to Ball State and eventually Utah. Oh, and McGuire stayed at Medalist for less than a year. He transitioned to an analyst on basketball broadcasts in 1979. On this day in 1990, Michael Jordan had his best game as a pro and the best game statistically by any pro ever. The Bulls were on the road at Cleveland on this night. Of course, MJ had some of his best games against the Cavaliers. In their first trip to Cleveland back in November, he'd dropped 54 on the Cavs. On this night, it was going to be a couple of steps beyond that. But it was also going to be a great game to watch for a couple of reasons. First, Jordan was nearly unstoppable.
Jordan looking for his 59th and 60th points. He's got him. 60 points for Jordan.
And then the game went into overtime with Craig Elo hitting the big shot.
Time remaining in the game, 15 seconds. Price kicks to Elo. He goes for 3. And hits it! Cleveland by 1! Oh my! Craig Elo with the triple! That was penetration.
Elo's shot actually just tied the game. Play-by-play man Bob Neal got a little overexcited in the moment. So the game went to OT, and Jordan simply took over.
Here's Jordan. Here's Elo. The shot clock.
Got to come double team him right now. Get it out of his hands.
Jordan from 13. Jordan has 63, matching his career high.
He also came up with rebounds, steals, and hit free throws down the stretch, and the Bulls won 117-113. Jordan finished with a career-best 69 points, a career-best 18 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block shot. Since 1983, the NBA has kept a stat called game score. In essence, this correlates all the stats a player accumulates in a game and then calculates the player's impact on that game. Jordan's score on this night was 64.6, not only the highest game score of his career, but also the highest game score stat of any player since that stat started being calculated. On this day in 1982, it was the first NCAA Women's Basketball Championship game. Prior to this, the women had played for the national title under the AIAW banner, and I'll have a little bit more on that in tomorrow's edition. But here on this day in 82, Louisiana Tech beat Cheney University 76-62. Now, lots of interesting things about this game. First, Cheney is the oldest historically black university in the country, established in 1837, and it is still the only HBCU to compete in an NCAA basketball championship game, men or women. And they were, and still are, a Division II team, playing in the Division I title game back in '82. Now, Louisiana Tech was pretty stout in '82. They were nearly unbeatable, finishing the year 35-1 and beating 15 top 25 teams throughout the year. And one of the players on that team was Kim Mulkey, who is the current head coach at LSU. And one final interesting thing about this one is that it took 35 years for the La Tech players to receive their championship rings. Following the game, the players received watches with the NCAA logo on it, and everybody thought that was it. It wasn't until 2017 that the Lady Techsters finally received the rings and true recognition for winning the first NCAA championship on this day in 1982. And on this day in 1999, it was a great day for the Duval family. The younger David shot a closing round 73 to win the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass, becoming the #1 ranked golfer in the world in the process. And his dad, Bob, shot 71 to win the Senior PGA's Emerald Coast Classic. It was Bob's only career win on the Senior PGA Tour. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports. Did you know? The infamous Calamity Jane from Deadwood survived smallpox during a time and a place where that did not happen very often. She then used her immunity to care for others who came down with it. She is credited with saving the lives of 8 men who contracted smallpox in Deadwood. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.